Mamukawula as one of the returning MPs. Hello, ma'am. Would you like to talk to us?
I'm trying to see if I can speak to Mamukawula.
Unfortunately for now, you can see that members of the Economic Freedom Fighters are busy singing their way to the National Assembly. We're hoping that you will be speaking to some of them later during the day, but for now we're going back to Valerie.
Singing their way to the National Assembly. We're hoping that you will be speaking to some of
Thank you,
them later during the day,
Mr.
but for now
Mansoura,
we're going back
we
to
were
Valerie.
busy talking about the progress that our parliament has made, that today, 25 years in our democracy, we've actually seen growth in terms of representation in the parliament. Having said that, what is really going to be transpiring in the National Assembly today, with all the singing that we are hearing, people cheering up, excited, going to the National Assembly, give us the details of what is going to happen, just to have the viewers ready at home.
Okay, the first thing that you do at the first sitting of the new National Assembly, let's not call it a parliament at this time because parliament consists
the
of two
first
houses,
thing that you do at the first
and the
sitting
NCOP
of
will only be
the
meeting
new
tomorrow to
National
constitute
Assembly, let's
itself.
not call it a parliament
Today,
at
the
this time
NA,
because
the
parliament
first
consists
order of
two
duty
houses, as you know.
would be
And the
the
NCOP will
swearing
only
in
be
of
meeting
the
tomorrow
members
to
of the
constitute
National
itself.
Assembly. Before
Today,
members
the
begin
NA,
to perform
the
their
first
duties,
order of duty
they must
would be
swear
the
allegiance.
swearing in
Now,
of the members of the National Assembly. Before members begin to perform their duties, they must swear allegiance. Now, the oath of office of a member, as you know, has come into under a lot of scrutiny by the judiciary recently, and members are being told increasingly to pay attention to the oath of office. So this will be a very important occasion, swearing that you will uphold the laws of the country and that you will serve the nation. So that's a very important factor. It's going to be done in lots of 10, I believe. So 10 members will come at a time in front of the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice will administer the oath or the solemn affirmation. Now, the difference, of course, between the oath and solemn affirmation is that under the oath, you raise your right hand and say, "So help me God." With the affirmation, you don't have to say, "So help me God." And this is a normal practice that applies even in the courts of law. You may swear either on the oath or the affirmation. It's not strange. And once the 400 members have been sworn in, we will proceed in the chamber with the election of the Speaker. The election of the Speaker will be presided over by the Chief Justice as required in terms of the Constitution. And remember that the Chief Justice has also called this meeting of the National Assembly. It was called by the Chief Justice himself in terms of the Constitution. And the election of the Speaker and further on the election of the President will be done in terms of the rules written and approved by the Chief Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Mansoura. While we are speaking about the Chief Justice, I believe the Chief Justice received the list of the members that are going to be sworn in the National Assembly as well as the provincial legislatures. Can you just give us a bit of details as where does this list start and how does it get into the hands of the Chief Justice, Mogoeng Mogoeng?
Great. Remember, we are based on a system of proportional representation, so we don't vote for a person as much as we vote for a political party. And once the voting is done and all the numbers are done and we know who the representatives are both nationally and from regional to national, the IEC then establishes from the political parties who on the list is available to become a member of the National Assembly. This is all an IEC process, the Independent Electoral Commission, of course. Those names are then given to the Chief Justice by the IEC because it's the duty of the Chief Justice to call that first meeting. Of course, the Secretary to Parliament and the Secretary to the National Assembly attend that handing over of the lists to the Chief Justice, because once those lists are handed over to the Chief Justice, assisted by Parliament, calls the first sitting.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Mansoura. And also with the establishment of the Sixth Parliament and with the National Assembly members being sworn in, what is really the constitutional mandate of the National Assembly? Because it's not a National Assembly without the representatives, of course. Can you just tell us where does where do they get this constitutional mandate as the National Assembly members?
Yes, the constitutional mandate, of course, is contained in the Constitution, specifically Section 42 of the Constitution. And it sets out, for me, the primary duty of the National Assembly is to elect the president. Once the president is elected, the president then proceeds to appoint ministers and establish a government. So then you have a government, you have parliament, and of course the judiciary continues its existence, and therefore the three arms of government are then established. So the mandate, as far as I'm concerned, most importantly is the election of the president, and then after the president and his cabinet is elected, to oversee the executive and ensure they deliver a service to the people. In other words, they represent the people of the country. Tomorrow, of course, you will see the NCOP being sworn in, and once the NCOP and the National Assembly are fully functional, they, of course, have the mandate to pass legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Mansoura. Just before we continue, there's an aspect that they need to fulfill this mandate. How do they then get to fulfill this mandate that they've been given by the Constitution as the National Assembly?
You mean in terms of electing the president or the legislative?
In terms of the legislative
hearings and through input by people affected by that legislation. So although that legislation, 90% of the legislation starts with the executive, it goes through a full public participation process in Parliament, and of course, Parliament itself applies its mind to that. Parliament can amend that legislation submitted to them by the executive, and then they can pass that legislation by both houses, normally by both houses. Then the first for the National Assembly and then the NCOP, or vice versa. Once that legislation is passed by Parliament, it goes to the President for assent. And the President cannot refuse to assent to a bill unless the President finds it is in conflict with the Constitution.
Quite an interesting point. If then the President
they can either bill, taking into account his concerns, or sending back the bill without addressing the concerns of the President.
Viewers at home, quite an interesting lawmaking process, but interesting enough that today the Chief Justice, who has called this meeting of the National Assembly, is going to speak to us, and this is what the Chief Justice had to say about the proceedings of today.
Deputy Speaker today, and in the coming weeks, we get the other office bearers of Parliament elected, being the Chief Whip. It's not an elected position. The Chief Whip is normally decided by the majority party, and the name is announced in the House only, so it's not an election procedure. The designation of the leader of the opposition formally to Parliament. So we have an official leader of the opposition as required by the Constitution. We have a leader of government business whose name is given to Parliament by the President himself. And the leader of government business is in charge of bringing the business of cabinet into Parliament and seeing to it that the business that the cabinet agrees to moves smoothly to Parliament. We also have the positions in Parliament, with the new Parliament being established, the position of the Chief Whip of the opposition being announced by the majority party, and then whips for almost all parties.
Thank you, Mr. Mansoura. Viewers at home, we are going back to we are going straight into the National Assembly where the proceedings are starting.
If you may be seated for a while. It is time for prayer or meditation. But I just thought we needed to be purposeful in embarking on this exercise. I never used to know what to meditate about, what to pray about. So here is a guideline. Our country has challenges. Meditate about the solutions to corruption, to crime, to anything of concern that you have. And for those of us who can pray, pray for solutions. Pray for a better vision, for guidance. Those who are here, those who are at home hearing, let us be very deliberate and intentional about this exercise. It's not a meaningless ritual. If you want to do it sitting, do so. If you want to be standing or in any other position, do so. But it will be for 3 minutes. It's not just a question of start and you don't know when to end. It will be for 3 minutes. May we do so now in whatever position you are comfortable with. May we move to another leg? Thank you. This meeting has been convened by another leg. As Chief Justice of the Republic, in terms of Section 51(1) this meeting of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. In terms of Section 48 of the Constitution of the Republic, members of the National Assembly 51(1) must swear on affirming faithfulness to the Republic. In terms of Section 48 of the Constitution the oath or affirmation to members. Members will be called in groups of up to 10 as arranged by the parties. I will therefore ask members that when their names are called out, they should please come to the table to take their oath or affirmation. Members will, after taking the oath or affirmation, return to their seats to sign duplicate forms at their desks. Members are requested to leave their forms at their desk when they leave the chamber. After I have countersigned the forms, members will receive one of the forms for their records. The acting Secretary to Parliament, who is the returning officer, will now call out the names of the members, and I would ask members to please wait for me after reading the oath of office or affirmation to ask them to raise their hands and to say either "so help me God" or "I do." It's over to you.
Mr. Ramaphosa Matamela Soro, Dr. Dlamini Zuma Nkosazana Clarice, Mr. Mantashe Samson Gwede, Ms. Sisulu Lindiwe Nongceba, Mr. Cele Bekokwakhe Hamilton, Mr. Nkize Zwelini Lawrence, Ms. Pando Grace Naledi Mandisa, Doctor, Mr. Gordon Pravin Yamadas.
It is necessary to carry your certificate so that you can read out of it. Well, yes, others did it. We begin, I, and you read up to the end. If it is an oath you took, you please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God." If it is an affirmation, you also raise your right hand and say, "I do." Thank you. Thank you. You may return to your seats. The next group, Acting Secretary.
Miss Mapisa Ngakula Nosiviwe Noluthando, Miss Ngwana Mashabane Maite Emily, Mr. Mtetwa Emmanuel Kosinati, Miss Didiza Angela Tokozile, Miss Zulu Lindiwe Daphne, Mrs. Motsecha Masie Angelina, Miss Modise Tandi Ruth, Miss Dlamini Batabile Olive, Mr. Mtembu Jackson Mpikwa, Mr. Mchunu Edward Senzo.
May we begin? I If it is an oath you took, you raise your right hand and say, so help me God. If it is an affirmation, you say, I do. You may please return to your seats. Yes, Acting Secretary.
Mr. Maimane Musi Aloysius, Mr. Steenhuisen John Henry, Mr. Self James, Mr. Waters Michael, Mr. Krumbok Gregory Rudy, Mrs. van der Walt Desiree, Mr. Maglua Joseph Job, Mr. Mare Sarel Jacobus Francois, Mrs. Matoni Natasha Wendy Anita, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hanif,
Are you ready? I,
Musi Aloysius Maimane, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa, will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
for those who took an affirmation, you raise your right hand and say, I do.
Citizens of the country, we've just watched the start of the proceedings of the National Assembly. The Chief Justice is already on the floor explaining the processes. But what was of note, Mr. Mansoura, was the emphasis that was made by the Chief Justice that these new members that are being sworn in today, they are only obedient to the Constitution and nothing else. The emphasis that he put on the word in the word obedience, what have you got to say about that?
I think we are taking on a whole new meaning and in terms of the oath of office. You know, the recent court judgments, especially the Constitution Court judgments,
We're
have...
going back to studio. I'm sorry to come in there.
No problem.
Same procedure, raise your right hand and say either also help me God, depending on whether it was an affirmation or an oath you took. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Let's go, please.
Mr. Supra-Obakeng Ramweleti, Ms. Mfeketo, Nomandia Kathleen, Mr. Gungubele Mondli, Ms. Oliphant Mildred Nelisiwe, Ms. Shabangu Susan, Mr. Lamini Sidumo Bongeni, Mr. Squacham Tabisi, Mr. Makwetla Samson Patake, Dr. Mutsecha Matole Sirofo, Mr. Magazi, it has to be used. Ms. Magazi, Dikeledi, Philistus. Thank you.
May Those who took an affirmation, please raise your right hand and say, I do. And those who took the oath, do the same, but say, so help me God. Thank you. Please return to your seats. Thank you. Would you read another set of names, please?
Mr. Malema Julius Silo. Mr. Shivambu Nyiko Floyd. Mr. Pambo Vuyani. Miss Chirwa Naledi Nokukhanya. Miss Sonti Nokulunga Primrose. Mrs. Ngwenya Delisile Blessing. Mr. Maringozi Brian Sindile. Mrs. Noluchungu Nontando Judith. Dr. Ndrozi Mbuyiseni Quintin. Miss Kaula Makoti Sibongile.
May we begin, please? May we begin? I For an oath, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God. For an affirmation, you do the same, but say, I do. So help me God. Thank you. The next group of members is going to be called out, but the officials have asked to be excused, not to read Mr. or Miss unless you feel strongly about it, just to read out the names without meaning disrespect. Is it okay? Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Mashalela Amos Fish, Luzi Posahlulele, Peters Elizabeth Dipuo, Motwaledi Pakishe Aaron, Chwete Pamela, Mkize Hlengiwe Buhle, Mahaule Makhabo Regina, Kwele Siyabonga Cyprian, Kivit Nokolo, Chrissy Barbara Dallas.
May we begin, please? I,
Na Elizabeth Puo Peters, ki kana gore ke tla go ikanya go Republic ya Afrika Borwa, mme ke tla ikorela ka tlotla le go tshegetsa molaotheo le melao e mengwe yotlhe ya Republic, mme ke solofetswa ka go tlhomamisa go dira ditiro tsa me ka bojotlhe jaaka leloko la kopana bosetšhaba.
would you all please raise your right hand and either say, so help me God, I do, depending on whether you took an oath or an affirmation.
A Modimo a nthusitse.
Thank you. You're excused. The next group, please.
Papela Kopeng Obed, Masheka Dlamini Kwati Candid, Mpanza Terence Skumbuzo, Holomisa Sango Patakele, Sojo Makotso Magdalene, Lulani Beauty Numbuzo, Semenya Machwena Rosina, Besani Sibungela Jeremiah, Siwele Violet Cezani.
I, would you all please raise your right hand and say, I do, if it's an affirmation, and so help me God, if it's an oath. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Next group, please.
Okay. Buthelezi, MG, Singh, Naren, Kebekulu, Russell, Nsakayezwe, Buthelezi, Elfas Mfakazeleni, Van der Merwe, Linda Liesel, Klengwa Mkuleko, Machozi Zandile.
Here we begin. I, would you all please raise your right hand and say, I do, if it's an affirmation, so help me God, if it's an oath you took. Thank you. You may return to your seats. The next group, please.
Kola Diane, De Freitas Manuel Simao Franca, George Dion Travers, Walters Thomas Charles Ravenscroft, Kopane Semakaleng Patricia, Stein Annette Liz Robert Alfred, Faber Velem Frederick, Lotrit Anneli, Matola Tembekile Richard.
I, would you please all raise your right hand, and if it's an oath you say, so help me God, if it's an affirmation, I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may go back to your seats. Please call out the next group.
Botes Alvin, Mafuno Kawe Nonneto, Godwa, Netiso Good Enough, Masondo David, Zimande Bonginkosi Emmanuel, Kapa, Rosemary Noguzola, Tinodi Solomon Lichisa, Anekom Derek Andre, Majola Figile Zakaria, Lamula Ronald Ozi.
May we begin? I,
Solomon Chisa Tsenui, solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
may we raise our right hands and say, so help me God. If you took an oath, I do, if it was an affirmation.
I do.
Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call out the next group.
Manamele Khwaridi Buti, Ndabeni Abrams Stella Tembisa, Mshlobo Mbakesini David, Machale Castle Charlie, Bongo Bongani Thomas, Kekana Pinky Sharon, Mashabel Shala Tandi, Kaba Nshaba Pindesele Pretty, Siwia Rulani Tembi, Casa Fikile de Villiers.
Let's begin. I,
Manseli David Makoto, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic, and I solemnly promise to fulfill my function as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
may we all raise our right hands, and if it is an oath, you say, so help me God, an affirmation, I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call the next group of names.
Groenewald, Petrus Johannes. Mulder, Cornelius Petrus. Wessels, Wouter Wynand. Boshoff, Wynand Johannes. Breed, Cameron. Groenewald, Ignatius Michael. Jordan, Heloise. May, Pieter. Mulder, Frederik Jacobus. Van Staden, Philippus Adriaan.
May we begin, please? I, if it is an oath, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God. If it's an affirmation, you raise your right hand and say, I do. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Next group, please.
Kubai, Ngubane, Mamloko Trifosa, Mayine Mokone Colin, Chikunga Lydia Sindisiwe, Modise Moleboheng, Nchabeni Khumbuzo Popi Silence. Moloi Boitumelo Elizabeth. Majodina Pemi Castellina Pamela. Moale Desmond Lawrence. Ndaba Claudia Nontlantla. Modise Philip. Matsapole Pogiso.
May we begin, please? I, may you all please raise your right hand. If it is an affirmation, as you have heard, I do. If it's an oath, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call the next group of names.
Buroto Matlala Grace, Sishwai, Noma Deuka Nancy, Motaung, Noma Sonto Evelyn, Mandela, Zweli Velile Mandle Sizwe Talibunga, Mutambi Azuyangwisi Faith, Makwanishe Gratitude, Zwani Musebenzi Joseph, Jumat Peterson, Tina Monica, Bingo Kikaba, Bongiwe Priscilla, James Jojo Hubert.
Let us begin. I, those who took an oath is going to be so help me God as you've had an affirmation. I do. Would you please all raise your right hand and do so? Thank you. Please return to your seats. The next group, please.
Passon, Leonard Jones, Joseph, Dennis, Lorimer, James Robert Bourne, Murray, Eric Johannes, Bergman, Darren, Mhlongo, Tsepo Winston, Hill Lewis, Gordon Gwynn, Mileham, Kevin John, Wilson, Evelyn Rain, Horn, Werner.
May we begin, please? I, those who took an oath, it's so help me God affirmation, I do. Would you all please raise your right hand and do accordingly?
So help my God.
Thank you. Please return to your seats. Please call the next set of names.
Nkosi Bekizwe Simon, Mkachwa Nompendulo Thobile, Mananiso Jane Seboletswe, Abraham Phoebe Nokolo, Adams Rachel Cecilia, Sokacha Mkolisa Simon, Maslaule Mikateko Golden, Mamudle Thabo Nelson, Aduans Nombuyiselo Gladys, April Heinrich Giovanni,
Let us begin. I,
Louisa Simon Jesse, solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution of the Republic. I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
would you please all raise your right hand for an oath? It so help me God, for an affirmation I do. Thank you. Please return to your seats. Please call the next set of names.
Bilankulu John Hlengani, Bilankulu Kensani Kate, Uchabane Mosa Steve, Dlomo Sibongiseni Maxwell, Digale Masefako Clara, Direko Digeledi Rosemary, Dex Mervyn Alexander, Dlakude Doris Eunice, Dlamini Dora Dunana, Chapha Ndumiso.
Aduans Nombuyi
Let us begin. I, those who took an oath, it will be so help me God, and an affirmation I do. Would you please raise your right hand and do likewise? Thank you. Please return to your seats. Would you please call out the next group?
Gardi Godric Ahmed, Mente Ndombovuyo Veronica, Mchangwini Elsabi Natasha, Mashabela Mwanamakwete Reneilwe, Ketse Puchi Peter, Mukweli Tebuho Josephine, Chwaku Mkini, Mukwena Lishonolo Goodwill, Dlamini Marshall Nzingisi, Yako Yoliswa Nomamkondomisi.
May we begin, please? I,
I, Ntombuvuyo Veronica Mendes, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all the other laws of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as the member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
would you all please raise your right hand and say, so help me God, if it's an oath, I do, if it was an affirmation. You do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call out the next set of names.
Lunjwa, Mary Ann Lindelwa, Dianti, Humza Patricia, Dianti, Kubudile Richard, Faku Zukisa Cheryl, Frolic Cedric Thomas, Gancho Nkabisa, Gela Anna, Gina Nomalungela, Gomba Machidiso Melina, Gumbu Chelitsi Thomas.
May we please begin? I, would you all please raise your right hand for those who took an oath? So help me God. For those who took an affirmation, I do. Thank you. Please return to your seats. Please call out the next set of names.
Kruger Hendrik Christian Crawford, Reitenbach Glennis, Julius Jack Warren William, Chetty Megan, Hansinger Christian Hans Heinrich, Mackenzie Cameron, Clark Michelle Odette, McPherson Dean William, Gumbi Shanganani Sipelele, Van Dyke Veronica.
Let's start. I, would you please raise your right hand, and those who took an oath say, so help me God, and those who took an affirmation say, I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats.
Viewers at home, we've just been watching the live proceedings of the swearing in of the members of the National Assembly. The group that has just left the stage right now are the members of the Democratic Alliance. As you have noticed that every time when the Chief Justice calls the numbers of 10, then they will come to the fore to take their oath or affirmation. Mr. Mansoura, as they are coming up, can you just give us a brief explanation of the difference between the oath and the affirmation?
The oath requires members to say, so help me God. In other words, the traditional way by placing your hand on the Bible and saying, taking the name of the Lord in terms of the oath. The affirmation leaves out the name of God. Now, some people prefer not to, through religious purposes or through their cultural purposes, not to swear in the name of God. So they take the affirmation.
Thank you very much. And also earlier on, as the members were coming through, and we noticed that they were the first group, which was from the African National Congress. I could be wrong in that one. It looked like the senior group of the National Executive Committee. Can you just give clarity on that one?
It normally is. The first few groups of the ANC are normally from the NEC, and they are therefore the senior members of the party. It's traditional that they form the first 3 or 4 groups of the ANC.
Okay, let's just give a moment.
Would you please all raise your right hand for the oath, so help me God, for an affirmation I do? Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call the next
Quite a
group.
lot of young people in these new elections.
Yes, very interesting. We have certainly more younger members coming through, and we haven't yet noticed anyone with special needs coming through. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if that is going to be happening. It will be quite an interesting observation or change.
Yes, how people with the wheelchairs and people with who are visually impaired and hearing impaired come through. It will be exciting to see how they take the oath.
All right. Viewers at home, the next 10 are coming forward to take their affirmation or oath in front of the Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court, Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng.
May we please start? I,
Sibusiso McDonald Pula, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the government. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
would you please all raise your right hand for the oath, so help me God, for the affirmation I do?
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats.
Members of Parliament are
Please
making
call
their
out
way
the
back
next.
to their seats. If you notice, all those members sitting on the right-hand side of the Chief Justice, they actually belong to the ruling party, the African National Congress.
Solomon, Masangu, Bridget Staff, Kardu Michael John, Van Dam, Pumzele Thelma, Mbele Zakele Unabulu, Bagram Michael.
Those are the members of the Democratic Alliance ready to take their oath of office or affirmation.
May we please begin? I, would you all please raise your right hand for the oath we say, so help me God, for the affirmation I do. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Please call the next group.
As the DA members proceed to their seats, that is the left-hand side of the Chief Justice, that is where the opposition sits. You might remember, viewers at home, that the left-hand side is where all the opposition parties of the National Assembly occupy. their positions.
Valencia Thokozile, Malomani Wisile Promise, Maluleke Buitumelo, Mama Bolu Jacob Boy, Maneli Boys,
Members or
Mapasonke,
your representatives
Mangwa-
as well.
Manganyi.
Voters, they are making their way before the judge to take their oath and affirmation again.
Let us please begin. I, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God for an oath I do for an affirmation." Thank you. You may return to your seats.
Quite interesting in this group. I didn't notice anyone with a smile or some kind of excitement. I don't know what's going
So
on
the
in their
very-
minds. They're quite tense, but I guess they're thinking about the work that lies ahead and the seriousness of the oath, especially after the Chief Justice has emphasized the word obedience to the Constitution.
Mashifo Pana Robert, Mashende Timothy Victor, Masondo Tabile Sylvia, Matafa Oscar Masarona, Matebula Elfas
Your
Fani,
representations,
Mbata
voters and
Sipiwe
citizens are
Mbele
approaching
Mbuku.
the Chief Justice to take their oath of office and or affirmation.
Let's begin, please. I,
Lisa Nkosinati Mangu, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
would you all please raise your right hand for the oath you say, "So help me God," the affirmation I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. Please return to your seats. Please call out the next list of members.
Mkhaliphi Hlengiwe Octavia,
Members of the EFF
Muteka
are
Pebani
approaching.
George, Siwisa Anetlita Matapelo, Sindane Patrick, Sonyana Konziwe Ntokozo Fortune, Muhlala Mative Rebecca,
There's a lot of excitement
Paulsen.
going on in the EFF members. They're really looking forward to taking the oath of office or affirmation.
Matthias Takosem, Montwedi, Muthusi Kenneth,
May we begin, please. I,
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
please raise your right hand. So help me God for the oath I do for the affirmation.
Okay.
Thank you. You may return to your seats.
If you are at home, that was the members of the EFF who have just taken their oath. They are making their way now to their desk. And you have seen that how excited they are, and they are really looking forward to their work in Parliament. Now we are going to be moving forward to the next group of 10 from the African National Congress.
Makwanazi Jabulale Cynthia Nightingale, Imlanzane Zola, Moetche Rasibe Martha, Mufakeng Jacqueline Mutla Khomong, Mohammed Hissamuddin.
Members making their way up to the front of the Chief Justice is 10 members from the African National Congress.
May we begin, please? I
swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
would you all please raise your right hand and for the oath say, "So help me God," and the affirmation I do. Thank you. You may please return to your seats.
They are going back to their benches to take their seats, and indeed they have proclaimed that they are going to be faithful and they are going to be obedient to the Constitution of the country, as you remember the Chief Justice said earlier on.
Moraut Tsetla, Atamedi Ronald, Morolong Itiseng Kenneth, Mudaung Anastasia, Bumza Gordon Winikaya, Mtembu Alice Klebani, Munyai Chiliti Bethua, Mbana Nonkosi Quini, Mieni Ernest Togozani.
The group that's making their way to the front, they are again the members of the African National Congress. Remember, viewers at home, that these proceedings, every time each group comes, it will be constituted of 10 members. In a different circumstance, it would be 7, as we saw earlier on from the group from the IFP.
Let us begin, please. I
Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic, and I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
May we please raise our right hands for the oath. So help me God, for the affirmation I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats.
They are making their way to the benches, and then they are going to make way now for the members of the Democratic Alliance.
Nuku Phineas, Whitfield Andrew Grant, Terra Blanche Orchid Stephanus, Mpiti Luyolo, King Chantel Valencia, Brink Cilias, Graham Samantha Jane, Opperman Gisela.
Let us begin, please. I would you all please raise your right hand for the oath, say, "So help me God," and the affirmation I do. Thank you. You may return
As the
to your
members
seats.
are making their way back to their seats, viewers, let us remind you that during the elections, the DA won about 84 seats. The ANC won about 230 seats. So in that order, and also according to the numbers that they received of seats, all the members are going to be sworn in through these proceedings by the Chief Justice, Mogoeng Mogoeng.
Ntuli Makoni Maria, Nzuza Njabulo Bheka, Papo Anthony Hope Mangwana,
As members are making their way to the front, remember that as they go back to their seats, the Chief Justice mentioned that they will need to sign and complete 2 forms, of which the Chief Justice, during the lunch break, he will sign all those 800 forms. So the Chief Justice still has a mammoth task before him after this.
Obey, respect and uphold the Constitution and all law of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of National Assembly to the best of my ability.
Would you all please raise your right hand for the oath? So help me God. Affirmation, I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats, please.
Hassan Banu, Phillips Cheryl, Kachalia Khalif Kane Yusuf, Kanyele Timbasile Angel, Weber, Anari Maria Magdalena, Sharif Nazli Khan, Spies Eleanor Rochelle Jacqueline, Ruiz Adrian Christopher, Hicklin Madeleine Bertine.
Making their way to the front are the members of the Democratic Alliance. Viewers at home, we mentioned the 2 forms. And once all the members have completed the forms and the Chief Justice has signed the forms, 1 form is going to remain in Parliament. Mr. Mansoura, what is going to happen to the 2nd form, by the way?
The 2nd form is for the member himself, so he can display it in his office and constantly be reminded of the oath the member has taken today.
Oh.
Obey, respect and uphold the Constitution, all other laws of the Republic, and I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
Would you please raise your right hand and for the oath, so help me God, the affirmation I do?
I do.
Thank you. You may return to your seats, please.
Citizens, these proceedings that are taking place at the National Assembly, they are coming live to you from the National Assembly to remind you as well that you indeed have voted during the 2019 elections, and now your representatives are here to take their responsibility to render services, to make legislation for you as the citizens of the country.
Sukkers, Marie Elizabeth, Thring, Wayne Maxim.
The group that is being called constitutes of 3 groups from different parties. It's the ACDP, it's the UDM, it's the ATM, and it's the Good Party. It's the African Christian Democratic Party, United Democratic Movement, ATM, and then the Good Party. So these are the smaller parties, hence you see them clustered in a group of 6.
The Low, Patricia, August,
Point of
Sean,
correction, there is a group
Nigel.
of 10 viewers.
Let us begin, please. I,
Stephen swear that I will be faithful to the
Would you all please raise your right hand, and for the oath, so help me God, for the affirmation I do. Thank you. You may return to your seats.
We noticed different emotions there in the members of the different political parties. To remind you viewers at home, there are two parties actually there that are going to be coming or joining the Sixth Parliament for the very first time. It is the ATM and the Good Party. So they won the votes. You voted them as citizens of the country to come and make your voices heard in this Parliament of the sixth term.
Shembeni Henry Andries, Ceza Kanya, Langa Thokozani Makosonke, Tito Lorato Florence, Motsepe Siliesta Kathleen Shoana, Mafanya Washington Tseko Isaac, Tembekwayo Sophie Susan, Mokause Mabato Olive.
EFF making their way before the Chief Justice.
May we please begin? I Please raise your right hand, and for the oath, so help me God, for the affirmation, I do. Thank you. Please return to your seats.
Viewers, you will notice that throughout these proceedings, the mace is absent in the National Assembly. The reason it's because the mace is the authority of the Speaker. Once the Speaker has been nominated and sworn in, then they are going to bring in, the Sergeant at Arms rather, will bring in the mace.
Peter Zamukolo Joseph, Piri Carol Mohadi, Pilani Majake, Makhatatso Charlotte Chana, Kaiso Kolisile Shinas, Khadebe Begiz Zizwe, Abram, Ramadwa Matozi Miriam, Siabi Albert Mammoha, Shabalala Lizi Figelepi.
Members of the African National Congress ready to take their oath of office or affirmation.
Let us start, please. I
And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
please raise your right hand and say, so help me God, if you took an oath, and I do if you took an affirmation. Thank you. Return to your seats, please.
CBC Christopher Howard Mzwakwe, Galo Mandlinkosi Philip, Nchaisa Lulama Maxwell, Lekota Musia Gerard Patrick, Madisha William Motipa, Winkler Hannah
Mr. Mansoura, we just realized that the mace is absent in the chamber, and we have highlighted that it will actually be brought in once they have nominated and elected the Speaker as well. Can you tell us more about the significance of the mace as the members are approaching?
The mace is actually inherited from the old Westminster tradition in the UK House of Commons, It's called the House of Commons as opposed to the House of Lords, remember. And the mace is the symbol of the crown in the chamber. The Queen or the crown will not physically be in the House of Commons or will not come, but the mace is a symbol of the Queen or the royalty in the House of Commons traditionally.
So in this instance, in the South African National Assembly, what does it signify?
Our mace has devolved a lot. It's now the symbol, actually, we have developed it as a symbol of the people. If you look at the mace closely, you'll see it's the the people are represented in our mace.
So should the speaker then be nominated and she's there and the mace is not there, what would it mean in the sitting of the National Assembly?
It means that the House is not fully constituted, actually, because it's a symbol of in our sense of the speaker.
Yeah.
Now the Chief Justice is in the chair, and this is really an electoral college that we are sitting as an electoral college later on when we elect the president. And you see, when the speaker comes in, the mace will come in. But at the election of the president, the mace will again not be in the chamber.
Thank you. Viewers at home, we have just noticed now the leader of the NFP has just been assisted to make it to the front to take an oath of office with the rest of the members of the other smaller parties, including COPE, DA, AIC, and NFP.
If you can, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God," for the oath I do for an affirmation. Thank you. You may return to your seat.
We are approaching the end, and while we are waiting for the members to make it to their benches, Mr. Mansoura, after the swearing in of all the members, the viewers at home, what should they be expecting after this?
The next stage is the election of the speaker. Once members have taken the oath of office, they can then carry out their duties as members. And the first duty of the House is to elect the speaker, and then the deputy speaker, and then the House will be fully constituted.
In terms of the speaker being elected, let's say for argument's sake, we have two nominations of the speakers. What is then going to be the process that's going to unfold?
Then we've got a long wait. Because then we need to print ballot papers and carry out an election that will be overseen by the Chief Justice, and that ballot will be done by secret vote. So I think we've got a long wait in front of us if that happens. We've probably got about 2 hours or so, 1.5 for the printing and another half an hour for each member casting the vote, and another 20 or 30 minutes for the counting of the votes in secret. So for each position, speaker, deputy, and president, we can go to a secret ballot.
So we are not going home anytime soon.
That might be so.
And then if we only have one nomination of the speaker, the duration of the time that's going to take, it's plus minus what?
If there's no contestation,
yes,
it would take roughly 5 to 10 minutes to conclude each one of those elections.
Okay. Once the speaker then has been nominated, does the Chief Justice come back for the nomination of the deputy speaker, who then presides over that process?
In terms of the Constitution, the speaker presides over the election of the deputy speaker. Of course, the Chief Justice must come in because in terms of the Constitution, again, the Chief Justice must preside over the election of the president.
Okay, let's just take a break and observe this oath.
Please raise your right hand for the oath. "So help me God," for the affirmation I do.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seat, please.
I would like us to go back to the mace. We indicated that the mace is quite significant in the chamber. And in your recollection, the mace, when was it really established as a symbol of the National Assembly?
We've taken over since 1994 with the new democratic parliament. We adopted the mace. We still had the old mace of pre-94, but we carried out a campaign, a public participation campaign over the next 3 to 4 years to establish a mace specifically for the South African Parliament. And that's what the mace we have today. So traditionally, it goes back to probably the 16th century in the UK terms.
Wow, wow, wow. So that process, how many people were involved? Were South Africans involved? They participated into exactly indicating what kind of a mace they would like to see as a nation?
Yes, there was a lot of public participation. There was a lot of school participation. We've had a lot of input by students. And you will notice that our mace now differs from the traditional mace of the Westminster. The Westminster mace lies flat with the crown pointing in the side of the majority party. Our mace stands upright to show equality of all in the chamber. That's what we try to show now.
That's an interesting fact. That's an interesting fact. We'll come back to that one.
So help me God for the affirmation I do. Thank you. You may return to your seats.
As the members are making their way back, you mentioned that the mace in the British system, it used to face the right. It used to be
the crown used to face the majority party.
The majority party, wow. And in this parliament, it faces up to represent equality.
Yes.
Ah, that's very interesting. As the proceedings are going ahead, viewers at home, we are almost approaching the end, and after that, as we said earlier on, the Chief Justice will be signing those 2 forms that the members have signed, of which also they will then reflect the signature of the Chief Justice as the person that was in charge of these proceedings of the swearing in of the members of the National Assembly.
I
solemnly promise to perform my function as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
In this 6th Parliament, I'm very keen to hear about that one later on. But I believe that he's about 23 years old.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
But there is a younger member, I think, in the Gauteng, or the Bloemfontein Gauteng legislature, who's 21.
Wow. As they're making their way back, Mr. Mansoura, before we forget, the very same process that is happening in the National Assembly in Cape Town, it's actually happening in the 9 provinces of South Africa. How significant are these processes that are happening in the provinces in Parliament?
It's significant for us because once the provincial legislatures are established, after they elect the Speaker, the Premier and the Deputy Speaker, they proceed to designate members to the National Council of Provinces. So each provincial legislature designates 6 permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces. And interestingly, tomorrow those members from the provincial legislature will have to be in Cape Town tomorrow morning early to be sworn in as members of the NCOP by the Chief Justice.
Oh, there's no rest for them. But I guess they're looking forward to this. They'll only be tired after the whole events that have taken place. So we have said that these proceedings are happening in the provinces. So in terms of them coming here, who is going to preside over those proceedings as well? Is the Chief Justice or somebody is going to be assigned?
I believe the Chief Justice will stay, and he will ensure that he swears in the members of the National Council of Provinces tomorrow.
Okay. Who is presiding in the provinces then?
In the provinces, this Chief Justice has designated judges to preside. So he has already done that, and they're already there. The Chief Justice designates judges to preside over the proceedings.
Okay, the judges, are they from the Constitutional Court or are they from the high courts?
They don't have to be. They don't have to be from the Constitutional Court. They can be from the higher courts.
Within the provinces.
Yes.
Thank you.
Normally.
Okay.
Last.
This is the last group of members, of the new members to be sworn in, viewers at home. So more or less, we are done with the swearing in of the National Assembly members. After this, after lunch, we're then going to come back and the members are then going to get ready to nominate, as well as nominate the speaker, who is then going to be sworn in by the Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng. Thereafter, the speaker will take over the seat of the Chief Justice, and then she will preside over the nomination of the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Thank you, viewers at home. You've been kind and patient as we are concluding the list of the swearing in of the members of the National Assembly.
Let's begin, please. I
Tilibali Elfas Maraozi, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey and respect all the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a member of the National Assembly to the best of my ability.
Would you please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God," for an oath, and "I do" for an affirmation?
So help me God.
Thank you. You may return to your seats, please. Please call out. You still have others?
Al-Jama, which is the party that has won one seat in parliament, Mr. Muhammad was actually carrying the Quran, which is the Bible for the Muslim community. So he brought it in front as he was taking his oath of office. What does that signify to him as a member of the Muslim community?
I suppose he's trying to show the cultural, religious background he's from. He's making a point. Because you normally swear on the Bible, and he's swearing on the Quran that's equivalent to the Bible, in his terms.
Let's make some progress. It's time for the election of the Speaker of this House. The members having been sworn in, we will now proceed to the election of office bearers as envisaged in Section 52(1) and 86(1) of the Constitution. I have to announce that I have made available rules in terms of which this meeting is to be conducted, as contemplated by the Constitution in Schedule 3 and Item 9 to the Constitution. I have been reliably informed that each member was furnished with a copy of those rules, should they become necessary. I also have to make it known that I have appointed the following persons to be returning officers to assist me in the proceedings in this meeting, should it be necessary to vote by way of secret ballot. Ms. P.N. Chawa as returning officer, and the following as assistant returning officers: Mr. M. Klaso, Mr. C.V. Matlangu, Dr. N. Ismail, Ms. M.R. Mutlomi, Advocate V.P. Ngaleka, Ms. T.V. Lyons, Mr. A.T. Nache, Advocate A.A. Ephraim, Ms. R. Tinda, Mr. M. Toti, Mr. F.J. Bason, Ms. N.C. Manjezi, Advocate Z. Naidu, Mr. P. Handik, Mr. M.H. Plakis, Mr. G. Matakani, Advocate J. Manyange, and Mr. T. Maleme. They have taken the oath and affirmation for such office before me yesterday, and I now request the returning officer to read the notice whereby this meeting has been called.
By virtue of the powers vested in me in terms of Section 51, subsection 1, Section 52, subsection 2, Section 64, subsection 4, 64, subsection 4, and 86 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996. I, Mogoeng Mogoeng, the Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, have determined that the first sitting of the National Assembly, at which the President of the Republic of South Africa, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly are to be elected, will take place on Wednesday, 22nd May 2019 at 10:30 a.m. Additionally, Thursday, 23rd May 2019 at 10:30 a.m. has been determined as the date and time for the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, at which the chairperson, deputy chairpersons of the National Council of Provinces are to be elected. Signed, Mogoeng Mogoeng, Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa.
And in anticipation of what transpired in 2014, let me just confirm that we've gone out of our way to satisfy myself that everybody to whom an oath or affirmation has been administered meet the constitutional requirements. And that's all I'm required to do. Anything beyond that belongs elsewhere. The meeting will now proceed to the election of the Speaker of this House. Before I call for nominations, I have to remind members that in terms of the Constitution, each nomination must be submitted on the prescribed form and duly seconded. Furthermore, I have to draw the attention of members, especially to item 4 of Part A of Schedule 3 to the Constitution, in terms of which there may be no debate. There will now be an opportunity for nominations for Speaker of the National Assembly. Yes, Honorable Member.
Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma hereby nominate Honorable Thandi Modise as a Speaker.
The Honorable Thandi Modise has been nominated for the position of Speaker of the National Assembly. Is the nomination seconded? It's best on record.
Chief Justice, I, Derek Hanekom, rise to second the nomination of Thandi Modise as Speaker of the National Assembly.
Would you please present the nomination to the returning officer? And as you do, let me seize this opportunity just to inquire of Honorable Thandi Modise whether she objects or accepts.
Chief Justice, I accept.
And before I call for any other nomination, I would want to be satisfied that this one is in order. Some correction is called for. The form reflects that the nominee is already the Speaker. It should reflect that the nominee is a member of the House. So if we can redo it, please. You know, South Africans are very litigious. If I don't get it right now, the next time we are in court about something we could have addressed.
First impression of the new whip, yes.
Citizens at home, we are getting ready for the nomination of the Speaker, and the Chief Justice is consulting with one of the table staff at this point. So you as viewers at home, just to remind you, we have just completed the swearing in of the members of the National Assembly, and this was concluded by the Chief Justice. The second phase now is to have the nomination of the Speaker, and also the Speaker will then take over the chair of the election of the Deputy Speaker. With me, it's in the studio, is Mr. Mansoura, who is our former Secretary of the National Assembly from the dates now are kind of getting into my head. I think, Mr. Mansoura, let's just continue with the conversation to say, earlier on we mentioned that if there is more than one nomination in this process, there is going to be another process that's going to unfold. Can you remind us at home, remind the viewers and us here in the studio, what is that process going to be like?
If we have more than one nomination, we go to a process of a secret vote. In other words, the chamber will then become a voting station itself. You will see voting booths being moved in, you will see ballot boxes, and you will see each member casting a vote for their preferred candidate, after which time those votes will be counted. So in preceding that, of course, we'll have to print ballot papers. So if there are more than one nomination, if there is more than one nomination, it's going to take us another hour, hour and a half before we have a speaker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mansoura. Viewers, we are going to, if then we have more than one nomination, what's going to happen is that the members are going to vacate the National Assembly, and then that would allow the table staff to have the chamber prepared. They are going to bring in the ballot boxes, they are going to bring in the ballot papers, and in this instance, members are going to vote alphabetically. But we are just waiting to see how this unfolds. We see the Chief Justice in consultation with one of the table staff. And as soon as that happens and the nominations are done, the Speaker is elected, and then the Speaker will resume the chair of the Speaker, and she will be, or he will be, then chaired by the Sergeant.
Any other nomination?
Chief Justice, in terms of Section 52 of the Constitution and the rules gazetted by yourself, I propose the name of Mr. Tembekile Richard Majola for the position of Speaker.
The Honorable Tembekile Majola has been nominated for the position of Speaker. Is the nomination seconded?
Chief Justice, I, Michael Waters, second the nomination of Tembekile Richard Majola for position of Speaker of the National Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you. And while they are passing the document through, has the Honorable Majola accepted? Does he accept?
I do accept the nomination, Chief Justice.
Okay, remember viewers at home, we were explaining that as soon as the speaker has been nominated and then appointed, and then the speaker will resume her seat. And she will be led inside the chamber by the sergeant in arms who would be carrying the mace. Remember, we elaborated more on the mace. So now we have two names on the table. We have Ms. Thandi Modise, and then as soon as we get to the other name, we will inform you. So, Mr. Mansoura, what is it about now with the National Assembly with the two names on board?
Well, if there's two names, we're going to adjourn the proceedings. The Chief Justice will have to adjourn proceedings in order for the ballot papers to be printed. That should take a few
The
minutes.
Chief Justice is on.
Council, but there is no signature, so that nobody accuses the returning officer or I of having been the ones who cancelled. And two, it's just reflected as plain street. Now, it can be a long street. We need to know the exact location. So I think just to make things easier, we will just furnish the nominating member with
Nomination for the
another and a bigger nomination form like this so that it can be completed. Please give it to them.
All right, Mr. Mansoura, we were just explaining into detail as that the process that's going to unfold. Can we just finish off that one? Like
Yes.
we said that there's going to be printing of the ballot papers. Can you just take us through them?
Yes, ballot papers cannot be pre-printed because the Secretary to the National Assembly wouldn't know which members would be nominated. Once the nominations have been finalized, then our printing section in Parliament will take over and they will print ballot papers. Let's hope we don't go more than 2 nominations, because it can go to more than 2 nominations. But at the moment, I believe we have 2 nominations. And the printing should take about 45 minutes to an hour, 15 minutes. And then the members will be recalled to cast the individual votes.
At this moment, they are inside the chamber. So once then the nominations have been received, are they expected to vacate the chamber? while it's being prepared, or they are going to prepare it while they are inside the chamber? In terms of the processes, how does
In
it
terms
go?
of process, it's not necessary for them to vacate the chamber, because the voting booths will be held between the chairs. So in the vacant space between the two sides of the house, the ballot boxes will be put. So it would be nice for the members to stretch their legs a bit and to get out, but it's not compulsory that they leave the chamber.
Okay, thank you very much. Viewers, that is Mr. Mansoura, our former Secretary to Parliament from 1986 to 2013. He is with us to the studio just to add value and also analyze the processes and continue to give us more information about these historical processes of Parliament that unfold, that have been unfolding since 1994. Remember that we voted in the elections on the 8th of May 2019, and that process of voting, that is what has actually culminated to what we are seeing today. We have had members of the National Assembly being sworn in, and now the Chief Justice has concluded the nominations of the two nominees who are going to be chair. One of them is going to be the Speaker of the National Assembly. Mr. Mansoura,
nominated for the position of Speaker of the National Assembly. Is there any other nomination?
Honourable Chief Justice. Honourable Chief Justice, I, Cornelius Petrus Mulder, would like to inform the Honourable Chief Justice on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus that we are not going to nominate anybody for the position of Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mulder. Is there any other nomination?
okay. Okay.
Where is the second one? Thank you. Well, in the absence of any other nomination, I've got to make the following announcement. We have the following candidates who have been properly nominated: Honorable Thandi R. Modise and Honorable Thembekile Richard Majola. Since more than one candidate has been nominated, a secret ballot will take place in terms of Item 6 of Part A of Schedule 3 of the Constitution.
The Chisatsinoli, thank you. And the third one? Yeah,
Proceedings when the bells are rung.
Not accept a nomination for the Speaker.
I advise that we go for lunch in the interest of time, so that when we come back, we will not only deal with the election of the Speaker, but also proceed with the election of the President and the Deputy Speaker. We adjourn.
Viewers at home, what you have just seen now is that the members are vacating the National Assembly chamber in preparation of the voting that is going to take place. As you have heard, the Chief Justice has indicated that there is more than one nomination for the Speaker's position. So now the table staff, as we've been explaining earlier on, that they are going now to prepare, get the ballot papers printed, bring them into the chamber, as well as the ballot boxes, meaning that now the members of the National Assembly, they are going to converge again, so that they then start with the voting processes. And thereafter, then the counting will begin. As soon as they are concluded with the counting, then the National Assembly will have their national speaker for the National Assembly. Mr. Mansoura, we are going to take a break now in preparation of the processes that's going to happen. I'm not sure how true this is that we've actually have 3 nominations, but we need our team to clarify that. Is this the first or it has happened before?
The first time I believe we're having 3 nominations. We had 2 nominations before, and it was an easy run. But I think I'll have to check the rules again and the constitution, but a majority wins the vote. So even if there's 3, if someone gets 51%, then that will be the speaker, the new speaker. It's interesting you refer to the table staff. The table staff now become returning officers in terms of election, because once an election is being held, you will see when they get back, all those people you refer to as the table staff become returning officers, and the Secretary to Parliament becomes the Chief Returning Officer. So they now take on the guise of an election that's going to happen. And you'll see the ballot boxes coming in, you'll see the voting booths coming into the chamber while we await the printing of the ballot sheets.
With the printing, does it mean now they are going to be printing the names of the nominated persons? What is going to be featured in those papers to be printed?
The names of those people nominated will be there. If it's 3, the 3 names would be there, and members would be required to put a cross against the member they desire. Now, you know that the Secretary of the National Assembly has already set up systems to take care of this, and the printers are already on standby to do this, because it is anticipated, the Chief Justice anticipates that we will have more than 2 names. So in anticipation, I can assure you that the printing section is waiting for those names to come through, and within the next half an hour or so, the printing will start.
Thank you, Mr. Mansoura. Again, viewers at home, we are speaking to Mr. Mansoura, who is the former Secretary of the National Assembly. He is in retirement now, but his information and his expertise are assisting us. The preparations have been in place to make sure that this day was going to go smoothly with the Parliament administration team, and to give us more light in terms of the state of readiness that we have observed. Ms. Baby Kyawa, and ladies and gentlemen, the VT is not available, but we are going to carry on just to catch up as to what has unfolded during this time, from early in the morning up to this time. Mr. Mansoura, in terms of the public participation by the citizens, when you started, you might correct me here if I'm wrong, when you started, the viewers did not have so much access, or citizens of South Africa did not have so much access in terms of what is happening in Parliament. Do you feel we have moved, or we have stagnated as Parliament?
Well, you know, internationally, we have an Interparliamentary Union, we have the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I think every parliament in the world has progressed in the last 25 years. We call it the Fourth Revolution, where social media has taken over, and people are so well informed of what's going on. I mean, in some countries already, the MPs consult their electorate through the social media. Social media is being used a lot. So the revolution over the last 25 years has come a long way. We all have now smartphones, and communication is so much simpler. And therefore, there's much more participation by the electorate.
Thank you. In our conversation, as well as the proceedings were happening, we spoke of persons with disabilities. Was there something that you noticed?
Yes, I don't know if I missed it, but I haven't seen anyone come to take the oath or affirmation in a wheelchair. I have not noticed anyone who is visually impaired. I did not notice anyone who had a special need in terms of speech. So I don't know where we have retrogressed in terms of persons with special abilities.
I think that is something that we're going to establish later on. Viewers at home, Tembukosi, what is happening outside?
Good afternoon. You are still watching the live coverage of the first sitting of the National Assembly for the 6th Parliament. I am standing with the Minister of Energy, Mr. Jeff Radebe, Mr. Khadebe, congratulations for making it back to Parliament, and how are you feeling today?
Thank you. I think the ANC has decided to put many of us here back into Parliament, and I'm very thrilled that the ANC, the members, have confidence in many of us who are here in Parliament. So that's why we're going to be executing our duties to the best of our abilities.
We know that the House had just adjourned for a lunch break following two nominations for the position of the Speaker, one that of the ANC for Ms. Thandi Modise and one for the DA for Mr. Thembekile Richard Mdluli. What do you think we can expect after this lunch break?
Well, the outcome is very inevitable that Thandi Modise is going to be the Speaker of the National Assembly come 2 o'clock this afternoon. We could see when the DA was nominating Mr. Majola, it was like a joke. That's a delaying tactics in terms of appointing and electing Ms. Thandi Modise, who has displayed revolutionary activism during her young days as a member of the ANC and also Umkhonto weSizwe. She has also discharged her responsibilities very well as the former Premier of Northwest and also as a former Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, and recently as the chairperson of the NCOP, the National Council of Provinces.
And what are some of the key issues that you would like to see the 6th Parliament prioritizing?
Well, it is very clear during our 53rd conference of the ANC in Mangaung in 2012, we said Parliament, both the NCOP and the National Assembly, must be an activist parliament. So I expect that the new members, both of the National Assembly and NCOP, will hold the executive accountable. The Chief Justice himself, you will notice when he started, he says there must be 3 minutes prayer and silent meditation, so that the things that trouble our people, service delivery, unemployment, poverty, and inequality, must be the driving force of ensuring that this parliament becomes an activist parliament to improve the quality of life of all South African people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khadebe. Once again, congratulations on making it back to Parliament.
Thank you very much.
That's it. That was Mr. Jeff Khadebe, the Minister of Energy, and we now back to the studio.
Mr. Mansoura, we've just seen some of the members that have just been sworn in. And just before we continue with the debate of analyzing what we have spoken about, viewers at home, you have just observed how the smooth proceedings have been going. And that is because of the Parliament administration staff that has been working throughout the year to make sure that the 5th Parliament was dissolved in orderly, as well as preparing for the establishment of the 6th Parliament. The acting secretary to Parliament had this to say about the activation of the preparations for the 6th Parliament.
Thank you very much for talking to us today. Just in a nutshell, give us the process as well as the role of Parliament administrators or officials with regards to the establishment of a term of Parliament or subsequent to the elections and receiving the list from the Chief Justice.
Yeah, I think I want to start from by saying, look, as administrators of Parliament, we continue our work because we are the constant factor in an institution. Unlike politicians, they've got 5 terms. We either have your full-term contract or you've got your 5-year contract, but your work continues. It continues in this way. As the DG of Parliament, or acting DG in this case, you must make sure that reports are submitted. So we do the normal things. We must make sure that annual reports are written, submitted. The auditor is here. Like now we are during the period of auditing, so that goes on. We must make sure that the financial statements are submitted, reports every month, like the Act says. So that administration work continues. Then, of course, with respect to, because we're not politicians, so we don't get involved in elections, we don't get involved in party work. One of the things that we get involved in is winding down the work of the committees who have to put together the committee reports so they hand over to the new committees. So largely the DG has to make sure that all the administration processes continue and are sustained over time. I mean, one of the things we do, we also have to look at our revision of the strategy and make sure that there's an understanding of the development of a strategy that will inform the next term of office of a new political leadership. And I'm talking strategy because that will evolve into strategic objective or strategic plan of 5 years.
Yes. And then what would then be the role also of the administration as far as assisting the new members of parliament?
Yeah, it's a big role. I mean, part of what we do, we have to put together a cross-functional project team that has to deal with the logistics, movement of members from their offices, cleaning their offices, and that's how involved we get. So there's sections of officials that must deal with the logistics, certain officials that must make sure that offices are cleared and cleaned. And it straddles into the villages where members stay. We work with public works to make sure that members have sufficient accommodation. I think in the mix we also get involved in the inauguration because you have to start parliament, set it up, appoint a president, then the president is inaugurated, of course having appointed the speaker and the chair. So the role of the officials doesn't stop. Good enough, I suppose an area where there is some bit of a respite is with people who support committees, because there's no more need for research work, there's no more need for content, there's no need for office support, committee support, because the committees are not there. So some people take leave a while, but some people catch up with the reports. So you will see that not all of us go out and rest. We have to continue with ensuring that the whole parliament in terms of administration is ready to receive the members.
Yes.
Some come back, some are new members.
And then you spoke about administration being responsible for writing of the report.
Yeah.
And one such a report is the legacy report. How is that legacy report beneficial to the coming parliament, the new administration?
2014 we sat around to write that legacy report. What we looked at is the political work of the presiding officers with respect to the policy priorities that they would have been pursuing as their mandate when they got here in 2014. So the report has to say, in terms of policy priorities of the past term of parliament, how far have these been met? And that would talk to your oversight, lawmaking, as well as holding the cabinet of ministers responsible and accountable in international relations. So there's a whole range of policy priorities that the Fifth Parliament would have introduced, which then informs the strategic plan for us to derive strategic objectives and obviously have our annual performance plans. So the legacy report will have the political report, which is an arm driven by members, public representatives, members of parliament. And we'll also have our administration report to say, have we established strong human resources? What ICT systems and structures do we have? Are they good? Have we analyzed them? Anything that relates to research. So we deal really with whether we met our strategic objectives. And this year, from 2014, there were these priorities politically brought by members of parliament, led by the presiding officers, which were converted into the strategic plan and which had strategic objectives. So the legacy report will say how much have we met those strategic objectives ourselves and the targets we set for ourselves. So it's a combination of the political report in terms of the activities of the houses, including how many laws were passed, the work of the National Council of Provinces, the work of the National Assembly, and National Assembly, its committees, like the portfolio committees, the work of the select committees as an NCOP. Then, of course, you'll bring in the administration component, and that will be the extent to which we retained skills, the extent to which we have created a conducive environment for workers to work in parliament. So that's a combination. And then, what the legacy report will do, it will flag incomplete programs that should be carried over into the next term by the new presiding officer's leadership.
And you mentioned something very important about the administration taking care of the audit. And I think you need to flag this one about the achievement. How has Parliament been doing as far as audits and work, its work generally, financial management, etc. is concerned with regards to the Auditor General's report?
I mean, we've had 4 consecutive clean audits. The first one, I think 2014-15, we had a clean audit, but it had matters of emphasis. So these were like housekeeping matters. But we've actually improved from there. We've been able to refine our strategic objectives. We've been able to account for at least every little budget that we have attached to a particular action in our annual performance plan. And where we had variances, we've been able to explain to the AG. Although we still have challenges, particularly challenges around how we collate performance information. So when the AG comes here, we don't waste their time. We know there's a central repository of information which people get to support what we say we have delivered on, or to support targets that we say we've actually met. So that's improved a lot, and I think it's through a collective. We've put together an audit task team. It's a team of young people, employees who are keen to make sure that Parliament on the line of administration works well. However, I must say, obviously audit has got very specific areas they audit. It will be your systems, internal controls, and whether the targets set you've met, and you've met them in line with the budget. So there are other matters that we think we want to mature towards, is to try and maybe audit, or we ourselves assess the quality of support we give to members, the quality of research, quality of legal services, the quality of ICTs, and most important, the quality of skills that we bring to Parliament that is important and critical for members to make sure that they are supported sufficiently to fulfill their constitutional mandate. Because if you look at the landscape of South Africa, we don't have members that would have come here with many degrees and are knowledgeable in whatever area. So sometimes they get pulled into committees with areas where they possibly are not knowledgeable. So the only people who have to be knowledgeable, at least, would be the staff or the officials that support them. And for us to say there's quality that we're providing to members is precisely to say, yes, we can see by them being effective in the work they do. And maybe one of the other elements is almost like a 360 assessment. We need to come to a point whereby we collect what the views of the members say about the support we give them individually, and I'm saying individually, in line with like the portfolio committees or the areas of work like that are aligned to cabinet portfolios. But that's into the future. But I must say, I'm very excited that the term has ended, and hopefully the last audits, which is due now on the 30th of June, would also say we've got a clean audit.
Your general message, which for staff as well as somebody who would be listening and watching you, talking about the administrative process.
5 years ago, during this time, we had real labor tensions, and I think we've worked very hard to establish labor harmony, workplace harmony. Not that everything is resolved, but we've worked very hard. We do have problems, which we will sort out. But Parliament staff is always willing. They always come out there and they work, and some really enjoy it. Of course, there are a few who complain that, look, I'm not deployed here and there, and I think some of those things we'll have to deal with if we tend to just use the same team of people all the time. And maybe both committees for the two houses, committees, I'm talking committee support officials, I think they must be even more involved in establishing the two houses, because they are the ones who really, really know the issues of procedure, and it's okay for them to be really centrally involved in the establishment of the two houses at this time after the elections. So maybe those are some of the lessons we would learn.
You are still watching the live coverage of the first sitting of the National Assembly for the 6th term. Yes, of course, the House has adjourned for a lunch break following 2 nominations for the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly. I am here standing with Minister of Health, Mr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Mr. Motsoaledi, congratulations for making it back to Parliament. If you can share with the viewers at home how you're feeling.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's exciting for everybody, and we thank the voters for having confidence in us and returning us to Parliament, and we promise we'll serve them with dedication and honesty.
Yes, we've seen the House adjourning following 2 nominations for the position of the Speaker, one that of the ANC for Ms. Thandi Modise and one for the DA for Mr. Thembekile Richard Mdluli. What can we expect when the House reconvenes?
Well, look, it's clear that ANC has got the majority. Whichever way you count, whatever way you add and all that. This is just a democratic process. We're just regretting that it's a waste of time. But unfortunately, the DA was trying to exercise their democratic right. But unfortunately, in the process, they're just going to keep us in Parliament unnecessarily. But so be it.
And what are the key health issues that we can expect to see changing during the 6th term?
Well, look, we have got a manifesto. Every party here came with a manifesto. And once you put a manifesto to the population and you are elected into Parliament, you have got to implement that manifesto. So our work is cut out for us in terms of what are you going to do in Parliament.
Any comments or messages that would like to convey out there to the fellow South Africans?
Well, I just want fellow South Africans to be activists and participate in this democracy. And after choosing people into Parliament, they mustn't withdraw. They must get an interest and hold Parliament to account for our actions in trying to deliver services to them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Motsoaledi, and we wish you all the best during this term.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, that was the Minister of Health, Mr. Aaron Motsoaledi, and we will now be crossing back to the studio.
With me in the studio is Mr. Mansoura, the former Secretary of the National Assembly. Mr. Mansoura, we've just seen the members being sworn in, the excitement. Others seem to be quite anxious about the role that lies ahead of them. But what advice do you have for the newly sworn in members of the National Assembly?
Well, firstly, they've taken the oath of office. So they must abide by that oath of office. I think the oath of office is becoming increasingly more stringent upon them these days, that they should uphold the laws of the country, they should serve the people. I think service delivery is a very